No, don't do that. Not on the rug, man.
See? See what happens, Lebowski? You see what happens?
Nobody calls me Lebowski. You got the wrong guy. I'm the dude, man. Walter, the Chinaman who peed on my rug, I can't go give him a bill. So what the fuck are you talking about?
What the fuck are you talking about? The Chinaman is not the issue here, dude.
So who?
Jeff Lebowski, the other Jeffrey Lebowski, the millionaire.
That's fucking interesting, man. That's fucking interesting.
Plus, he has the wealth, obviously, and the resources, so that there's no fucking reason why his wife should go out and owe money all over town, and then they come and they pee on your fucking rug. Am I wrong?
The United States just passed 200,000 deaths related to the COVID-19 virus, if the numbers can be believed. In addition, we are getting close to 1 million deaths worldwide, again, if the numbers can be believed. It seems apropos to pause to consider the issue of causation, because causation has become a matter of public debate. We know what Biden's claim is.
Yeah, this virus is horrible, but it's not Trump's fault, it's China's fault.
The virus is not his fault, but the deaths are his fault because he could have done something about it, Jake.
He is given an assist by the minor birds in the media. From the ancient,
so much more could have been done, and my evaluation is, based on the overwhelming evidence I have, that he failed as a leader.
To those looking for approval and promotion.
People got sick, people lost their lives, people lost their livelihoods. The comparison of our response and approach versus other countries worldwide has been abysmal. And now we know for sure that at the time, the president had the information to craft a better response.
As I have mentioned before, I believe that Trump's response to the crisis was pretty good, given that government is inefficient in the best circumstances and will always be slow to respond to new crises. I even made a short list of some of the response. Imposed travel bans on China and later Europe. Shut down the economy when advised to do so by the scientist. Guaranteed free health care to everyone affected. Partnered with industry to develop a testing program. Partnered with industry to increase the supply of PPE. Partnered with Ford and GM to manufacture ventilators. Quickly built temporary hospitals. Deployed United States Navy medical ships to hotspots. Fast-tracked research funding. Worked with Congress to provide aid to individuals and small business. And held daily press briefings. I mention this again because I have listened carefully for what the anti-Trump people believe Trump could have done better or differently, and for some evidence that had things been done differently, the damage would not have been so great. They finally made a claim through broken down old Joe Biden, no less.
Had he acted 1 week earlier, there'd be over 31,000 more people alive. Added 2 weeks earlier, it would have been 50-some thousand still alive. This caused people to die. And what did he do the whole time? He acknowledged that you breathe it, it's in the air, and he won't put on a mask. He's talking about it's ridiculous to put on masks. What do you need social distancing for? Why have any of these rules?
Of course, this nonsense about mask wearing is utter bullshit. Although there is a propaganda campaign in America, cooler, rational heads have examined the efficacy of community mask wearing. The European Center for Disease Prevention and Control examined the question of using face masks in the community. They found that there is no evidence that non-medical face masks or other face covers are an effective means of respiratory protection for the wearer of the mask because such masks have very low filter efficiency. Further, they found that cotton face masks increase the penetration of microorganisms as compared to not wearing a mask at all. In addition, there is a huge problem with how masks are actually being used. In order to be effective, masks should be put on and taken off with clean hands, and the hands should be cleaned with alcohol as soon as the mask is removed. In addition, masks should be cleaned in detergent after each use. Now, turning back to the issue of causation, It is easy enough for those with common sense to understand. Causation is the action of causing something. Cause as a noun is a person or a thing that gives rise to an action, phenomenon, or condition. Cause as a verb is to make something happen. Causation can be bedeviling. Without following the philosophers down the rabbit hole of what reality is, a counterfactual analysis of a simple example should make the point. If I don't water my lawn, it will die. Thus, if my lawn is dead, it is because I did not water it. However, it is also true that Trump did not water my lawn. This, needless to say, does not mean that my lawn is dead because Trump did not water it. If you sit on a jury and are asked to consider the causation of an injury, the judge will give you an instruction of how you should make your determination. Causation of an injury is something which is a substantial factor in causing the injury. It must be something more than remote or trivial. Further, if the injury would have occurred even without the complaint about conduct, then the conduct is not a substantial factor in causing the injury. Of course, one person's misconduct can combine with another factor to cause an injury or other harm. Turning to the facts of the corona situation, we know from a whistleblower, Dr. Li Meng Yan, that the COVID-19 virus was created in a lab by the Chinese and that it was created as a weapon.
This is created in the lab. This is from that template owned by China military. And also it is spread to the world to make such damage.
To make such damage, do you believe the Chinese government released this intentionally, on purpose? Did they do this?
Yes, of course, it's intentionally. And even no need more evidence, you already can see what they try to cover up from the early beginning, as I reviewed in different medias before, and also what else they have done, like making the fabricated virus to throw out the natural origin theory, censorship, everything that every evidence point to the lab origins, and also clearly try to make people like me want to talk about the truth get despaired.
We can be confident of this analysis because of the genome structure of the virus.
So what you're saying is much more sinister even than we've suggested on this show, than Tom Cotton, than almost anyone suggested. You're saying that the Chinese government manufactured this virus, if I'm hearing you correctly. That's what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. Based on the virus genome, it's basically like our fingerprint. So you can see the very unusual characters in their genome, which clearly, based on the other evidence they left during the modification, we can say finally this is exactly the one come from their own special bad coronavirus and then target human.
We also know that the Chinese government and its allies have worked very hard to cover up these facts.
Why is nobody saying this if it's true?
Yeah, why there is nobody want to say it? It's because of the big suppression come from the Chinese Communist Party government and also their friend in scientific world. So basically, this is very clearly that this virus is like Frankenstein. So he created those things like basically a cow has deer's head, has rabbit's ear, and also have monkey's hand. So they can never get it from the nature. And there were evidence left in the genome. But the scientific world also keeps silence, work together with Chinese Communist Party. They don't want people to know this truth. Also, that's why I get suspended, I get suppression, I am the target that Chinese Communist Party won't be despaired.
Probably the most reprehensible part of this cover-up is the activity of American internet companies in assisting China in China's immoral and illegal conduct. For example, Twitter, which enjoys many benefits under American law because it is intended as a platform for social discourse, recently censored Dr. Yan. One day she had an active account. The next day, her account was suspended. Twitter has acted in concert with the Chinese Communist Party to disappear Dr. Yan. This is an absolute disgrace. Fortunately, Dr. Yan's report is still available on the internet, although a Google search might not locate it. Moreover, the Congressional Foreign Affairs Committee recently completed its investigation on the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic. The report was published on September 21st, 2020. The investigation concluded that the Chinese communists failed to fulfill their obligations under international law, which resulted in disappeared journalists, the public health emergency, a shattered world economy, and almost 1 million deaths so far. Moreover, the study showed that had the Chinese obeyed the law, it would have reduced its own cases by 95%, and the global pandemic would have been avoided altogether. The Chinese failed to notify the World Health Organization of the outbreak of the disease. The Chinese failed to immediately publish the genetic mapping of the disease. The Chinese closed the lab which published the COVID-19 genome. The Chinese censored reports that the virus can be transmitted from human to human. Thus, not only is there no evidence that some of the deaths could have been prevented if the Trump administration had responded to the crisis differently. The evidence is clear that the Chinese government is solely to blame for the misery which has gripped the world. They intentionally created this virus, and probably as a bioweapon in violation of the treaties on chemical weapons. Furthermore, once the virus was in the community, the Chinese government intentionally suppressed and censored information which would have helped the world avoid the pandemic and the deaths. At this point, the only open question is whether the Chinese government intentionally released the virus into the community. I am not inclined to believe that they did. I'd need more evidence to draw this inference. Until such evidence is produced, I will hold the opinion that intentionally releasing this virus into the community is too evil even for the Chinese. But make no mistake, they are evil, and they did evil. Once this virus was in the community, they intentionally caused it to spread in order to gain an economic advantage against the West. The Chinese should be forced to pay for the damages they have caused. We can't get 2020 back, but we should be able to recover just compensation.